Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't just a book on personal finance. It's a global phenomenon that has reshaped how millions perceive wealth. Robert Kiyosaki challenges conventional wisdom about money through the powerful lens of his two fathers, his highly educated poor dad, who struggled financially, and his best friend's entrepreneurial rich dad, who became one of Hawaii's wealthiest men. This foundational contrast sets the stage for a revolutionary financial education. Rich Dad, Poor Dad has shattered the myth that a high income is the key to wealth. It provides the essential mindset shift from being an employee to becoming a business owner and investor, empowering you to make money work for you instead of you working for money. Part 1. The story. Imagine growing up with two fathers, both strong and influential, yet offering you completely different blueprints for life. My own highly educated father, the man I called Poor Dad, climbed the ladder of conventional success to the very top of Hawaii's education system. His refrain was a familiar one in our home, a mantra you might recognize from your own upbringing. Go to school, get good grades, and find a safe, secure job. For him, a steady paycheck and robust benefits were the ultimate prizes, the fortress walls that would protect us from life's uncertainties. Yet, I often heard him sigh at the kitchen table, staring at bills, and utter those three words that keep so many trapped: I can't afford it. Just a few blocks away lived my other father, my best friend's dad, the man I called Rich Dad. He was a high school dropout who saw the world not as a hierarchy of job titles, but as a vast game of money, a game with rules he had taken the time to learn. He taught me that the poor and the middle class remain forever chained to the treadmill, exchanging their precious hours for dollars, while the rich spend their energy building systems that make money for them while they sleep. He never accepted, I can't afford it. Instead, he forced my mind to engage, to ask the liberating question, how can I afford it? This shift in perspective is your first and most crucial step, moving from a mindset of scarcity to one of creative possibility. My own journey into this new world began not in a classroom, but in a small, dusty convenience store where Rich Dad hired my friend Mike and me to work for the meager sum of 10 cents an hour. That tiny paycheck was the bait, and we took it, only to find ourselves feeling cheated and frustrated after weeks of labor. But that was the entire point of the lesson. He wasn't trying to exploit us. He was making us feel the slow, grinding frustration of the rat race so we would be desperate for a better way. He wanted our young minds to revolt against the idea that our financial destiny was simply to find a master to serve for a wage. He was preparing us to become the masters of our own financial futures, to build our own empires instead of spending our lives building someone else's. The rich don't work for money. That initial frustration in the convenience store, feeling cheated after weeks of labor for just 10 cents an hour, was the catalyst for my real financial education. When Mike and I finally mustered the courage to demand a fair raise, Rich Dad didn't get angry. He saw it as a perfect teaching moment. He explained that life has a way of pushing everyone around, and most people respond by getting a job, earning a paycheck, and then succumbing to a cycle of bills and desires that forces them back to work. He called this the rat race, a relentless treadmill where you run faster and faster but never actually get ahead. By reacting with anger and demanding more money, he showed us we were already letting fear and greed, the fear of having nothing and the greed for instant comfort, dictate our lives. He then made a startling offer: work for me for free. It was a difficult proposition to work with no immediate reward, but it fundamentally shifted our perspective. Freed from the hypnotic effect of a small paycheck, our minds began to look for solutions instead of just reacting to problems. We noticed that the comic books in the store had their front covers torn off by the distributor and were meant to be thrown away. We asked if we could have these discarded comics instead of a wage. We then created a library in Mike's garage, charging other kids 10 cents to read as many comics as they wanted for 2 hours. That small, bustling library became our first true asset, a machine that generated money for us while we played baseball. It wasn't about the small amount of cash it brought in. It was the profound lesson that our minds, when trained to see opportunity, could create money where others saw only trash. Rich Dad was teaching us to build systems that served us, to have money work for us, so we wouldn't have to spend our lives working for money. This shift from employee to business owner, even on a tiny scale, was more valuable than any hourly wage. It taught us the power of leveraging resources and time. While other kids were spending their allowances, we were building a small enterprise that provided a service and generated continuous income. This firsthand experience in creating a cash-flowing asset, rather than just trading hours for dollars, laid the entire foundation for my understanding of wealth. You begin to see that financial freedom isn't about a large salary. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you own, and the speed at which your assets can grow without your direct physical labor. Why teach financial literacy? Financial literacy is not about how much money you make. It is about how much you keep and how hard that money works for you. Rich Dad defined wealth in a powerful, simple way. It is your ability to survive a certain number of days if you stopped working today. The entire foundation rests on understanding 2 words, asset and liability. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, like a rental property or a dividend-paying stock. A liability is anything that takes money out, like your mortgage, car loan, or credit card debt. Most people struggle financially because they call their liabilities assets. They get a raise and immediately buy a bigger house with a bigger mortgage, believing it is an investment when it is actually a massive expense. The cash flow pattern for the poor is simple. Their income goes directly to expenses. The middle class falls into a trap. Their income flows into their column of liabilities, like a house and car, which then create more expenses. The rich, however, focus exclusively on acquiring assets. Their income flows into that column, and those assets then generate more than enough money to cover their expenses. The most important rule is this: you must know the difference between an asset and a liability, and you must discipline yourself to buy assets. If you want to be rich, you spend your life building your asset column. If you want to be poor or middle class, you spend your life building your liability column. It is that simple, and it is a choice. Mind your own business. Most people confuse their profession with their business. Your profession is what you do to pay bills, like being a banker or a chef. Your business, however, revolves entirely around your asset column. Rich Dad urged me to keep my day job, but to start minding my own business, meaning I should focus on building my portfolio of income-generating assets. He used the example of Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, who famously stated his business was not hamburgers, but real estate. The corporation's true wealth came from owning the valuable land underneath the franchisees. True assets are things like real estate that produces rental income, stocks that pay dividends, bonds that generate interest, or intellectual property like music or books that earn royalties. The key is to acquire things that work for you. Many people spend their lives buying liabilities they think are assets, like a bigger house or a new car, which only increase their expenses. A fundamental rule is to use the cash flow from your assets to pay for your luxuries. When you buy a luxury from your salary, you diminish your power to acquire more assets. When you buy it from the cash flow your assets produce, you reward yourself without destroying your wealth-building engine. Your business is about building and protecting your asset column. Everything else is just a job. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. Most people believe in a Robin Hood myth, that the tax system takes from the rich and gives to the poor. The historical reality is different. The income tax was initially introduced to tax the wealthy, a move supported by the masses. However, the system eventually expanded to burden the middle class most heavily, taking from them to fund the government and its contractors. This is where understanding the power of a corporation becomes your greatest financial shield. An employee earns money, gets taxed immediately, and then lives on what is left. A corporation, however, earns money, spends on necessary expenses, and is only taxed on the remainder. This legal structure allows business owners to buy their car, health insurance, and other necessities with pre-tax dollars, something an employee can rarely do. This is not about evading taxes, but about using the legal framework of a corporation to minimize your tax burden legally. This knowledge is a crucial component of financial intelligence, which combines accounting, investing, understanding markets, and the law. The rich do not just work for money. They use corporations and legal strategies to protect their wealth and make their money work more efficiently for them. It is the difference between saying, "I work for my company," and "my company works for me." The rich invent money. Most people believe you need money to make money, waiting passively for the right opportunity or lottery ticket. The rich operate differently. They actively create money using their most powerful asset, a financially educated mind. My own journey began with a small but profound deal. I discovered a condo worth $65,000 being sold by a desperate owner for just $45,000. I had no savings, but I had a plan. I approached the owner and offered him $20,000, a price he accepted because he needed cash immediately. I gave him a small down payment. The key was, I did not need a bank loan or my own capital. Before the purchase was even finalized, I advertised the property and found an investor who saw its instant value. I sold him my purchase contract for $60,000. In less than a week, without a single dollar of my own money tied up, I made a $40,000 profit. I used part of that profit to buy a Mercedes, not for flash, but as a constant reminder that my mind, not my labor, was my primary wealth generator. This principle scaled dramatically years later. I purchased a vast, 160-acre parcel of land in Oregon for $30,000. It seemed like a remote, worthless plot to most. I held it, understanding its potential. A decade later, a major corporation needed that exact land to complete a massive planned development. They paid me several $1,000,000 for it. This was not luck, it was the result of trained financial intelligence. This intelligence combines 4 essential skills: accounting to spot value, investing to execute strategies, understanding market dynamics to see future demand, and knowledge of the law to structure deals that protect and multiply wealth. Wealth is not about the money you have. It is about the ideas you generate and the value you create from seemingly nothing. Work to learn, don't work for money. Many people are trapped in the cycle of working for a paycheck, a condition Rich Dad called being just over broke. Their focus is solely on the income, not on the skills they acquire. I once met a young woman with an MBA who bluntly advised others to marry for money. This reflects a deep misunderstanding, focusing on the short-term symptom of needing cash rather than the long-term cure of building your own abilities. Rich Dad taught that the most successful people are those who possess a combination of skills, with management of cash flow, systems, and people being the most vital. He advised me to seek jobs for what I would learn, not for what I would earn. Following this, I took a lower-paying trainee position at Standard Oil to master corporate sales, a skill I knew was invaluable. Later, I deliberately joined the Xerox Corporation, known for its brutal sales training. I was painfully shy, but I persevered, constantly facing rejection until I became one of the top salespeople. That skill, the ability to sell and communicate, became a cornerstone of my future success. The key is to look down the road at the skills you want to possess in 5 or 10 years. Choose your path based on the knowledge you will gain, not the salary you will receive. A high salary can be a trap, making you dependent, and blinding you to the skills you are failing to develop. Work to master the art of moving money, managing people, and marketing yourself. These are the skills that will free you from the need to work for money forever. Part 2. Applying the lessons. Overcoming obstacles. Even with financial knowledge, internal psychological barriers often hold people back. The first and greatest obstacle is the fear of losing money. The primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is not that the rich are fearless, but that they manage that fear. They understand that playing it too safe is also a risk. The second obstacle is cynicism, the voice of doubt that points out all the potential pitfalls, the Chicken Little syndrome that paralyzes you before you even begin. The third obstacle is laziness, which often manifests as being too busy to manage your money, a form of neglect that protects you from facing difficult financial truths. The fourth obstacle is bad habits, primarily the habit of paying everyone else, your bills, your landlord, the government, first and yourself last. The fifth obstacle is arrogance, which is ego masquerading as knowledge, thinking that what you don't know isn't important. To overcome cynicism and laziness, you must train your mind to automatically ask, "How can I afford it?" instead of succumbing to "I can't afford it." This simple shift forces your brain to seek solutions. To combat bad habits, you must adopt the discipline of paying yourself first. When your income arrives, you immediately allocate a portion to your asset column before paying any bills. This creates positive financial pressure, forcing you to seek other sources of income or cut expenses to cover your bills, thereby accelerating your financial education and asset growth. Mastering money is more about mastering your emotions and habits than it is about memorizing formulas. Getting started. Awakening your financial genius requires a concrete plan and daily discipline. The first and most crucial step is to find a deep, emotional reason, a powerful combination of something you truly want and something you desperately want to avoid. This emotional fuel is what will power you through the inevitable challenges and moments of doubt. You must consciously recognize the power you hold to choose what you do with your time and money every single day, and you must consistently choose to invest in your financial education over passive entertainment. Your social circle exerts a powerful influence, so you must deliberately choose friends who discuss money, deals, and opportunities, not just bills and sports, as their mindset will either lift you up or pull you down. Commit to mastering one financial formula thoroughly, such as a specific real estate investment strategy, and then deliberately learn a new one to keep expanding your options and adaptability. When you seek expert advice, pay your brokers and professionals well, as their quality advice and access to deals can save or make you vast amounts of money, making their fee a valuable investment. Adopt the mindset of an Indian giver, focusing intensely on investments that return your initial capital to you quickly, so you can recycle it into new opportunities, making your money work in multiple places at once. Find heroes, people whose financial paths you can admire and emulate, to provide a model and inspiration for your own journey. Finally, understand the profound power of teaching, as sharing what you know forces you to learn it more deeply and often attracts new opportunities and insights to you. To practice all these steps in a completely risk-free environment, you can use tools like the cash flow game, which simulates real-world investment decisions and helps you train your brain to recognize and act on opportunities you would otherwise miss. Still want more? Here are some to-dos. Your journey to financial freedom demands decisive action, and this final list provides your concrete starting points. 1. You must stop blaming the economy, your boss, or your upbringing for your financial situation and take complete responsibility for your own education and future. 2. Actively choose financial heroes, individuals whose success you can dissect and emulate, and cultivate a powerful, emotional why that will push you through moments of doubt and fatigue. 3. Immediately implement the discipline of paying yourself first, directing money into your asset column before any bill is paid, and learn to manage the resulting financial pressure to sharpen your creativity and resourcefulness. 4. Commit to paying your brokers and advisors well, viewing their fees not as an expense, but as a critical investment in specialized knowledge and access. 5. Focus on being an Indian giver, prioritizing investments designed to return your initial capital swiftly, allowing you to recycle that money into new ventures repeatedly. 6. Make it a non-negotiable rule to fund your luxuries solely from the cash flow generated by your assets, never from your salary or savings, ensuring your wealth engine remains intact. 7. Train your eyes and mind to constantly find and create deals by viewing the world through a lens of opportunity, and dedicate time to studying financial history to understand the cycles that create and destroy wealth. 8. Take action now, even if you start with a single, small investment, because the real-world experience you gain is infinitely more valuable than any theoretical knowledge. 9. Embrace the paradoxical power of giving, for the more you generously give of your knowledge, time, and money, the more abundance seems to flow back into your life, opening unexpected doors. 10. Take calculated risks, be bold in your financial ambitions, and trust that your own financial genius can convert the life you have into the great one it is meant to be. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. Your interaction matters, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.